I just want to say I'm grateful to be here for one, because during this COVID time, it's like just to have a job and be around people who are employed. It's a blessing. So
yeah, definitely.
Grateful that you guys were able to get here safe today.
Absolutely.
And as I look around everywhere, like I realize that we have a lot in common already, and that is that we're gonna die one day. I know that might be harsh this morning, but it's the reality. And like,
right.
I feel like it's been like a gift and curse with that perception I've been given, that I'm always able to see like the reality of things, and it is what it is. But it's not to pretty much like get you in a fear type base like mentality. Like, I don't know if you guys know, back in the Roman times, the Roman generals, when they would defeat another army, they would be paraded like in their chariots, and the parade would be like a whole day long. And while they were going through that whole city getting paraded, they'd have a slave in the chariot with them. And that slave's sole duty was to remind the general and whisper in his ear this phrase, memento mori. And memento mori, translated in English, is remember you're gonna die. So even when this general had won, he was idolized, he's like a godlike figure in that time, he still had a slave at that time remind him like he's going to eventually die, you're mortal. And a lot of people could say it's morbid or it's like it's harsh reality, but like to me that energizes me. Like I'm probably gonna get that tatted on me probably, because but I gotta do it soon because we don't last long either. So. But that phrase, I keep it in the forefront because it just makes me thankful that I'm able to even like commune with people. Every day is a gift. Like we're not promised to be here. Every day is a gift. And what it does, it really allows me to remind myself that the only thing that matters, because we die, what do you guys think? Like the only thing that matters, like since we're mortal, what would you say, like what do you want to leave? Like
a legacy.
Exactly. So today we're gonna get into legacy, why this is the only thing we're ever building, and the only thing that we should worry about. Everyone forgets about this. So I haven't always been driven. Like, I grew up in a small town, grew up with Ryan in this small town called Pueblo, Colorado. And I wasn't the most popular kid. I wasn't the most talented at sports. Like, people that knew me in my family would even call me like a drifter, because I was just like into video games. I'd just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay home. Like, I'm just gonna do me. Like, I'll catch up later. And like, I didn't really have any drive. So I would just play video games most of the time. So at the time, I was wasting a lot of time. I had no social skills. Like, I'd go out to parties and things, but I was just like following the crowd. I pretty much the whole time in Pueblo, I spent a lot of time just like doing my own thing. Like, I was an outcast. And not until sophomore year of college did I finally move up to Denver. So when I moved up to Denver, I had to leave the video games behind. Like, I couldn't take it with me. My little brother, it was our system, so like I couldn't take the PlayStation Xbox with me. So I was like, all right, I had to like learn the reality of things. And I was pumped to be in Denver. Like, it was a new place. Like, it was like a whole new world opening up. But I was still scared to like open up. Like, it took like months for me to even go party, because I moved into the student dorms over here downtown, and it took a time to get familiar and like comfortable and get out of my shell. But at that time, I was going to school for like athletic training. I didn't really feel like athletic training was something I really wanted to do. It was like, yeah, I enjoy being healthy, but I don't crave to tell people like, yo, you need to eat these types of calories and do all that. So I took some steps back, and I decided to like get out of school, dropped out for a bit, and I just started to just read a lot of self-help books. So I started reading books like on self-mastery, spirituality, relationships, metaphysics even. And I just wanted to know like what's the underlying, what's going on behind the scenes pretty much. So I came across that book, The Secret. I don't know if you guys have heard about that book.
No.
So this book, The Secret, it like came out around like 2012, 2010. It was like the manifestation book. It was like everyone's like, you could just visualize and get what you want. Like this lady was on Oprah, like telling all these people like it's so easy to just create like a vision board and all this, and it was just too easy. Like she was explaining some things like the law of attraction. It was pretty much like the book to bring law of attraction together. But I got wrapped up into it. Like I felt I was like called to like look into it. I was like walking out of Barnes and Nobles one day, like leaving the bathroom, and it was just like there when I walked out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna grab this book. Like, kind of speak to me, and I like read it a little bit. And at the time, I was dating this girl named Haley, and in the book, it was
We'll blur it out.
In the book, it literally had some examples like Haley's this, Haley's that.
Stop.
Like, what? I was like, okay, this is weird. But so I take up that book. It's almost like my Bible at that time. I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna manifest all this. Like, and in the book, it's like if you visualize checks in the mail, like you're gonna be getting checks in the mail. And I was like, all right. So I go down to like my little dorm box. I'm like, there's no checks here. There's just reality checks. Just continuous reality checks. Like, how do you think you're gonna get a check when you're not doing anything that brings value? Like, people will only pay you. Currency is only currency because you give someone value in exchange of value. So it got a lot of people in this mindset of like, just visualize like you could still be a drifter and get what you want. And it's like, yeah, let me do it the easy way.
Yeah.
That's never how it works.
Right.
And so around that time, like I'm still in college, trying to get myself together. Like I grew up in a broken home. Like my dad wasn't there because my mom raised us. So it was a great upbringing we had with our grandparents. They helped raise us. Our whole family had like a good culture, but I still felt like there was things I was lacking. I didn't have like my own direction or father figure to pretty much drive me. So I had to kind of figure out how to drive myself. And around that time, it was like sophomore year of college, like there was a night that everything changed. Like dubstep became a thing in Denver.
Yeah.
And I was new to it. I didn't know what dubstep was. I didn't know what electronic music coming from Pueblo, Colorado. So I was like, I'll go out with my friends. And like, I went out with my friends at the time, my friends. It was a blizzard that night, dude. Like, at this time, there was no Uber. Uber came, I think, to Denver like around like 2013. So we get dropped off by one of our friends at this venue. I forget what the venue's even called, but we pre-gamed so hard, and like I'm a lightweight, so like I'm pretty much blacked out before we even get to the like venue. And like I buy the ticket, and literally in line, I buy the ticket, get back in line, and I lose the ticket. Literally from the ticket booth to the line, I lose the ticket. And I'm trying to find it. My friends, they go in and like they don't even bother to check for me. They're just like, yeah, they just trust I'm gonna make it in. I never find the ticket, so I'm forced to like figure out like, damn, I'm gonna have to like get back home. I don't know where I am. I'm new to Denver. I've only been here for like months at a time. So I'm tasked with trying to get back home. It's a blizzard. I hate anything more than, there's nothing I hate more than being cold. Like, you would think I would be like adjusted, but I hate being cold. So like, I was like trying to figure out, I could barely see the street signs at all. So I'm like trying to just go in the direction I feel like called to go to. So I know I lived on 20th Street, so I just start walking, trying to see the numbers, and like, I get to a point, like I'm just gonna trust, put my head down, like it's cold, put my head on. 5-10 minutes go by, and I look up, and I'm on like 34th Street, and I'm like, damn, damn, like I'm going in the wrong direction. So I turn around and I start like jogging a bit because I'm like, I need to get out of this cold. Like, I'm done with this. And like, you're not so nimble when you're drunk. So like I fall and slip on my right side, dude. And at the time, I didn't realize I blew out my voice speaker on my phone. I didn't even know this was possible. So like I'm crying, about to like call people. I'm calling people and they're hanging up on me because they're like, they can't hear you. And I'm like, damn, why is everyone hanging up on me? And I was like, so I literally thought like that was it for me. I couldn't even text because I didn't even know where I was. I couldn't text anyone to tell them to come get me. So I literally was like, thought that was my last day. Like I sat down, admitted defeat. Like I was crying, I was praying. I was like, why? I was pretty much saying goodbye to everyone like, through prayer. And I'm literally sitting there on the sidewalk. It's snowing, like I'm cold, and out of nowhere, like the fog, this random Ford Blue Ranger like comes through. This dude had no business to be out there. Like it's a blizzard. Like cabs weren't even out because they would get stuck. So like I waved this dude down and he's like, do you need help? And I'm like crying. I'm like, yeah, like I just need to get back to like 20th Street. That's where I live. And he's like, just jump in. So I'm so thankful on the ride back, and I eventually get home and he's literally like, dude, like what are you even doing out here? Like I told him like my friends at the time, like I don't even know who those people are anymore. Like they're no longer friends, but they left me out there to freeze. And I finally get home. I'm so thankful. I'm like, I'm gonna pay you. I'll pay you. Like I'm so thankful. I'll go back up. I'll come down. And like I get in my room and like I'm so overjoyed and like happy that I just like fall down and like cry myself to sleep that night because I was like so happy to just be alive. And I wake up the next morning and I'm like, damn, like I forgot about that guy. Like he told me he would wait for me. I told him like I'd pay him, never came down, but I was like, damn, I feel bad, but that guy, he really didn't even ask for money. He just did it out of the kindness of his own heart. And I literally feel like that dude was like heaven sent as well, because like it's strange at the time that I can't even remember what he looked like if I tried. Like it's weird. Every time I think about it, I get the chills. I'm like, why me? Like there's bums and everything that are out here on the streets. Like why did that guy decide to go down the road that day? So that day made me realize like I'm here for a reason. And around that time I was like, all right, I'm gonna devote myself to like get myself together. I dove even deeper into books. I started to go down the rabbit hole pretty much of like reality, what's going on behind the scenes, and I started to take up a liking for music. So I started to try my hand at music because I was reading a lot of things. I was like, well, I want to help people. Like maybe I could do it through music, but I didn't really care to be on stage and sing like the same song over and over again, because people don't realize like music is not like everything it's like made up to be. So I enjoy music. I still enjoy music to this day, but I figured out that wasn't my route. I'll just like keep my hand in it somehow. But around that time, my great grandmother passed as well. So my great grandmother, she was called, we would call her Grandma Dia, and Dia means like mother of the family. So my great grandmother, she instilled like so much values in our family. Like we were all forced to go to church growing up. So going up, I would always be in the church. My great grandmother would be in the front row praising and getting up on stage, like sharing wisdom. And everywhere she went, she brought gifts. Like either it was her wisdom or literal gifts. Like she would show up to church with a trunk full of like snacks and soda for people. And I was like, people, yeah, like when she started to get older, like people were sad because she was no longer there. Like it was just like the energy was different in the church. So I eventually left the church as well around that time, but I still felt spiritually. I just didn't feel like I needed to find spirit in the church. And when she started to pass, like my family took care of her up until like 92. Like our family keeps our older generation. We don't put them in nursing homes and things like that. So she passed in the care of our family. But when she passed, like I felt there was like an energy left that she left. There was like a torch that that someone else needed to pick up. Like I almost felt the burden. Like no one's gonna give you or assign you that duty of like, yo, you need to carry on this like generational legacy or this energy, but it's just like an unspoken energy that I figured out like my family wasn't really picking up on. And I started to see my family digress and like go back because they're just like, there's no direction. So I believe that life is sacrifice. Like I love Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jordan B. Peterson, but he's like a big philosopher of this time.
Was he on Rogan recently?
Yeah. He's been on.
I talked to someone yesterday, and she was talking about Jordan Peterson.
He has a daughter who has her own podcast now as well. But this dude is like shaking up the world because he just does nothing but truth, and like a lot of people don't like the truth right now because they're so sensitive. But this dude says life is sacrifice, and that hit me because I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense, because he says life is sacrifice. You don't have the choice to not make a sacrifice. Like in your ability to not take an action and sacrifice, you are actually sacrificing something else on the backside. So if you're not trying to be an upstanding citizen, or if you're not trying to be a good parent, a husband, brother, whatever, like there's a consequence to actions always. So with me just watching my family digress, I'm like, well, I do have a part in this. I can try to do something. I can try to help people even if they're not trying to listen to me. So around that time, like I saw a lot of inspiration through YouTube mentors, and I credit like a lot of people on YouTube that have given me inspiration to like see things a certain way. And at a time I was like, well, why can't I be like one of these people? Like they're not doing anything different. I'm no different. Like they're all mortal. Like I could put on a camera right now, and the worst thing that could happen is like no one watch me. No one's even watching me right now. So let me just make a video in my empty apartment and see what happens. And at the time, like I got so like away from everything. I stopped like dating. I stopped drinking. I stopped like all type of pleasure for like 4 months. Like didn't have sex and do anything. And around that time, like my energy was just like crazy. It was like the world was after me. It was like the energy that I was walking around with, people didn't even know how to like articulate it to me, but they just wanted to be around me. Like I felt like every time I left the house, like I barely made it back home because people were like trying to get the energy I was walking with. Like life was like a theme park at that time. And I still see the world in that perspective, because like I was able to go away and not feel like I needed what the world was trying to give me. And I realized like everything that I learned was pretty much the wrong thing. It brought me to a point where I was almost gonna die. Like I was hanging out with friends that didn't care about me. I was seeking validation through friends that didn't even care about me because I didn't have that validation growing up. So I was like, well, let me just try to self-master myself and see, like, I know if I have myself together, like things around me will actually get themselves together as well. It's like you're just like a cog in the machine. If you take care of your cog and you oil it up, only if your cog's working can the whole machine work. So a lot of people don't think they have a big part in the world, or what they do doesn't have too much of a difference, but you are just a cog in the whole world, a machine. Like me even being here is helping everyone because I'm pouring into each of you, and you guys are going to do whatever it is that you do after. And I hope I'm able to give you some knowledge, and you leave here with something that helps you move in a different way, like a gear. And so I started that YouTube channel, and I was like, well, I love video games. I really haven't played video games much lately, but I was like, you know what? Like, you know what I loved about video games is that it expanded my imagination, and it allowed me to realize like the world that we live in is almost like a video game. Like I'm not sure if you guys have played like role-playing games like Grand Theft Auto, whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Science
a
fiction.
huge game.
Yeah.
I
So
love
like,
GTA.
so what is it that you do in the games? Like you level up. So the only way that you could level up is like going through getting experience points and like, things like that. So it's like, all right, let me call my channel Another Day Leveled Up. Like that's gonna be dope. Like, and I feel like I'm learning in reverse. So I'm deconditioning myself from everything that I've learned. So I just started calling myself like Salem, which I pronounce like my name Miles, like in reverse. So I was going by that, and people were starting to pick up on it, and like I was just talking. It was like pretty much cathartic for me to talk and just get my thoughts out. Because what I realized, I didn't know at the time, but what I was saying, which was I thought common knowledge of people, they were like coming to me like, yo, I needed this at this time. And I was like, wow, like that's almost selfish for me to think that what I know, everyone else knows, and what they know, it'd be weird for them to assume that I know everything that they know. So
Right.
it's literally in my best interest to start talking. And if it's meant for someone, it's gonna hit someone. So I started doing that. It was like 2019, November it was, and like I pretty much got a lot of traction that I didn't see coming. Like a lot of videos got thousands of views, got over 1,000 subscribers, and I'm like, damn, like I'm not doing anything crazy, nothing like different, no hashtags. And my friends are like, what hashtags are you using?
Right.
I'm like, bro, I'm just talking. Like I'm not really doing much. Like I'm just being authentic, and that's what people want these days. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, well, I'm just gonna try to step into that. I figure out this is my calling. Like this is coming natural to me. Like why don't just I step into this? And because of the COVID times, like I was working as a manager at Earl's restaurant downtown, and I started making my videos when I would leave work, like at night, because I was like the night manager. I'd go in and I'd just have so many ideas. Like when I got home, I was like, might as well make a video. Like I don't have to go back into work until 3 p.m. So might as well make these videos. And that place, when I went into that place, like it felt like home. Like my GM there poured into me, and I felt like everything was lining up. Like the book, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book, The Alchemist. So this book, I wouldn't be here without that book, because this book, what it says is like everyone has their own personal legend, and when you conspire, when you literally decide to do something, the whole universe conspires in your favor. And I was blown away. I was in Pueblo at the time, because I moved back from Denver around that time, and like was in the depths, like rock bottom. And I heard that, and that literally like sparks a whole thing in me. And still to this day, that's like on my bookshelf for everyone to see. And that book changed my life. And it was weird because my GM of Earl's one day, he was walking through, and he's like, I see this copy of The Alchemist on his table. It's those old Alchemists. It's like 1990s edition. There's like an angel on it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like where'd you get this book? And it's like, I used to travel Europe back in the 90s, and I actually saw Paulo Coelho, the author, and he signed this book. And he brought in with like the pictures and everything, and he was like, I wouldn't be here without that book. And I was like, this is too crazy. Like I literally feel like I'm living in this book. Like this world is literally stranger than fiction. And at this time, like my YouTube's just blowing up, so I'm just like, all right, might as well step into this. The world's like pretty much showing me that it's giving me what I want. It's conspiring in my favor. Like COVID happened, and I got laid off, and I was still being paid, but it granted me more opportunity to actually dive deeper into just giving back to people on my YouTube channel. And it's only gotten better and better, and I'm thankful for that. And there's always a silver lining in it. So we get back to the like video games. So I'm sure you guys play video games. So when you're playing these role-playing games, like what's the main thing that is always like on the forefront? Like when you're playing these games, Grand Theft Auto, any science fiction, fantasy game, like there's the map, and you're walking, and like what is there that is always in your vision? Like it'll literally try to direct you back to it.
Like home base, maybe?
I should, yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Like,
The
I should know this.
Noah.
I don't know.
Guys like playing your games.
the mission.
Oh,
Okay.
So
true.
even in these
Yeah.
role-playing games, even like Grand Theft Auto, it's a free-form game, but even on the map, there's a mission. You could go off, try to do your side quest, whatever it is, go crazy, go on a rampage, but it'll always try to direct you towards your mission because that's the only thing that matters. And in life, I find like the side quest are things like relationships and having fun, enjoying ourselves, but like there's always a mission at hand. And if we forget about it, it's like, what are you even here for? Like
Right.
this whole world knows that that's the only thing that matters is your mission and what you leave. And a lot of people think that like legacy is only in like the long term, like the overall thing, but legacy is actually in the short term too. People don't realize like every day you do anything, your past jobs, you're leaving a legacy. Like your resume is your legacy. So I realized like people can't even be who they need to be until you become who you need to become. And I see that almost in like the analogy of like a relay race. Like you have your race, you have your runners in this race. You have someone in the start, the middle, third, fourth, and the guy who starts the race is usually faster than the guy who's in the race, but the guys in the middle are more long-term, long-distance runners. So everyone does exactly what they need to do, and then they hand the baton off to finish the race. So everyone needs to look at life like the baton's in their hand, running as fast as you can, doing what you could do for another person, because until you do what you need to do, like literally the whole entire collective of people can't do what they need to do until you run your race. And the legacy that you leave is the only thing that matters. Like I said, the resume that you have, like people call your past employers to see what legacy you left. They're not asking like, it's not just about how good you were. They're like, did he improve like the conditions of the environment? Like, was he just a drifter? Was he just there? Did he just do what he had to do, like the bare minimum? Like, I don't want to leave and someone say like he did the bare minimum. He was a good guy. He did what he needed to do and went to work, went home. It's like you have to always be worried about the legacy that you're leaving. And I realized that, and it's my mission. I've taken on the duty to help people master themselves and the world around them, because I realize now that I'm still, it's a never-ending journey. Like I feel like I've got myself to a point to help others, but there's always work to do. So I don't ever feel like I'm the guy with all the answers or a guru. I'm just a guide. Like I've got myself to a place, so I'm not trying to be above anyone. I'm just like a guide to help someone else get to where they need to be, so we all could have a better life. Because unless I'm doing what I need to do, no one else is going to be able to do what they need to do. I'm not going to sit down and watch the world go into shambles, because that's the legacy that I want to leave. So I ask you guys, like, what is the legacy that you guys want to leave? And I'm going to conclude on that. So I appreciate you guys.